Yo, welcome back to the GM Podcast. I'm Miller.
I'm Gav.
And today, man, first off, let's just say it feels good to be back in the studio, man. This has been a long time coming. My boys' basketball season just finally
We're gonna
ended.
be in here for a while.
Yeah, so
till my next season starts.
So these will become more frequent.
100%.
So yeah, we're just ready to get back to work, man.
Done with the online episodes.
Yeah, we got a lot to discuss in this episode.
Yeah.
Let's get off. First thing I want to talk about, man. Lakers just had a 113-109 hard-fought overtime victory against the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson went out with an unfortunate injury. Had 39 in that game. First question I just want to ask to you: should the Lakers be the number one title contender to everyone in the world right now?
In the entire NBA.
Should they be the number one contender?
No.
Okay.
They are up there, and they have a great argument to be talked about.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I'm very impressed with the Lakers is their JJ Redick's way to hide and adapt schemes defensively to guard. I mean, there's people talking about have they figured out a way to guard Jokic, the way they get the ball out of his hands. So just watching, I mean, and with Luka being traded, I don't know if I've missed a game.
Yeah, that's great. It's great television.
It's
finally,
great. Yes,
yeah, it's great television.
I want to every single Lakers game.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I've watched more Lakers games than Celtics games since the trade.
I'm not gonna lie. I've watched more Lakers game in completion than I have any other team.
Yes,
like I'll tune into every single game, obviously night to night.
But I'm intrigued.
I'm watching it minute by minute in every single Laker game.
Especially. I think the way there's a lot of things that before the Luka trade were what ifs, and it's almost like 7 different what ifs became realities, which you don't see happen.
No.
The what if of the defensive issues, the what if of Jackson Hayes all of a sudden now he's stepping up, the what if of like LeBron playing off the ball and he might be better now.
He's playing great.
Yeah, so me personally, I think the Lakers will make the finals. I don't know if they will win the whole thing.
So you do okay,
but I have the Lakers making I think they are the lead for me in the West, and
so the Celtics are still your number one.
The Celtics are still my number one due to simple matchup issues and what I saw. What I saw the Celtics do last year when they played Luka. When Luka had 4 defenders around him, and then it was Luka, and they were able to abuse Luka, I can only imagine what it would be like the way we would abuse LA defensively, no matter what scheme, because we have the unique ability that no other team in the league has of 5 players that can get an isolation bucket at a pretty high clip. You know, most teams, even the best team like the Thunder, you have Lou Dort, who you're not really trusting to get a one-on-one bucket.
No, he's not.
You know, like. The Celtics have that rare, and even when you put Pritchard in, great isolation player. We have great players who can abuse mismatches. So JJ Redick's going to have to be at his best to beat us scheme-wise, because you can't just play straight-up man-to-man against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say right now I will have the Lakers as favorites simply because of experience and Luka and LeBron's. They've already been there. They've been through these moments, so they're more prepared than any other team in the West when it comes to playoffs. So, yeah.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to say that the Lakers are not the number one contenders right now.
Okay.
Obviously, the Celtics, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard just combined for 84 points in a game. 43 and 41 for their 5th and 6th. Maybe you could argue 6th and 7th option if you like Al Horford that much. Well, Al Horford's not.
Come playoff time, you never know. Like Al Horford will step up.
The Celtics have a great 7.
Yes.
A great 7. And right
Sam Hauser as a role player.
Absolutely. He's a knockdown shooter. He'll come down and give you some good minutes in the playoffs as well.
Yeah.
But I think, and first off, that they should be the favorite in every capacity still. I don't care about what we've seen with the first couple weeks with Luka and the Lakers. Don't care about any of that. But I wanted to highlight something that I thought about. I feel like we keep talking about how the Thunder, Charles Barkley yesterday on the air talks about how the Thunder and the Cavs are being undercovered. I kind of feel like the Celtics are still being disrespected, like right now.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because I don't remember a time since the KD Warriors, where I thought there was this team and then a big gap until the next one.
Yes.
And now with the ascendance of Luka and the Lakers, I can definitely see a world where that gap closes. I can see a world where that gap is starting to close, because earlier this season I thought it was Celtics. That's it. Yeah. But right now I think the Lakers match up well. You have a vertical spacer in Jackson Hayes who can give people like Al Horford problems at his age. That's the type of center who would give Al Horford problems. He can move out there. He can switch. He can get on to Kristaps Porzingis out wide, move his feet. But what I wanted to say about the Celtics, they remind me so much of the Philadelphia Eagles in every aspect.
Yes.
And this is where I will start. Roster construction. This Celtics squad has 7 players that are NBA at least starter worthy.
Okay. Yes, I mean, so Derek White could be an all-star. I think this is a rare NBA where we have so much talent. I think we need expansion, but anywhere to 3 to 5 years ago, Derek White is an all-star.
I think the Celtics have found perfect play. The Celtics have players that it feels like when it comes to the game of basketball, their IQ leads them. Forget about the talent. Their IQ leads them to exactly where they need to be at every single point in the game. This Celtics team is elite, and they are led by a superstar who continuously gets discredited. And the narrative on him is, well, he's not a dog. Well, he doesn't dominate games. He doesn't have the same star power that some of these star players have. That Jalen Hurts, Jason
Tatum.
It's crazy how similar these situations are. I think when we talk about guys like Jalen Hurts and Jason Tatum, we see that they're not as talented as those top-end guys, the LeBrons of the world, the Patrick Mahomes of the world. But we fail to acknowledge the elite qualities that those guys do have. Jalen Hurts being an elite in-between-the-tackles runner as a quarterback, which we have pretty much never seen, being a great deep ball thrower. And since we're talking about basketball, I'll spend more time on Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is one of the most elite drivers of the basketball that has ever lived. And it's not a situation where, I mean, in football, Jalen Hurts is, they're pulling him back, telling him, let's throw a little bit less. In basketball, Jason Tatum has the 7th highest usage rate in the NBA with all of the stacked players that are on that team. All of the players that can create offense on the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum is 7th in usage rate in the entire NBA. So I think we have to stop disrespecting a guy who has been to how many 5 conference championships?
Yeah.
I mean, let's stop disrespecting this guy. He's a big game player. And I think, and where I'm going with this is, I think these Celtics have an athletic mismatch over the Lakers, and that's really where I think this will lay. They will be playing at the end of a long and grueling season, and athleticism has a lot to do with, I think, who wins that series. Yeah. And Boston is just a little bit, I think they match up a little bit more in that way.
They do, for sure. And like you said, the comparison with Jalen Hurts and Jason Tatum is amazing. Simply, not even just off specific skills, but they win. And they don't have the best numbers in the regular season, but they always step up to the occasion. From rookie year Jason Tatum playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, Jason Tatum has always stepped up to the occasion. And you can't, other than the Philly game where he ended up hitting a game-winning shot in the last minutes and ended up with 19 points, but had like almost double digits in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You can't show me a game in Jason Tatum's career where it's like, yeah, he sold them in the playoffs.
Absolutely not.
You cannot show me one game where you're like, yeah, Jason Tatum sold them in the playoffs.
No.
He was down 0-3 against the Heat, came back. If he didn't get hurt his ankle in the first minute of the game,
they might have had a historic series.
And what? We're talking about 3 straight finals appearances now?
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at the Celtics very differently if Jason Tatum doesn't get injured in that first minute, because I don't see Miami Heat with a healthy Jason Tatum beating us in the Garden,
especially after game 7. After you won 3 straight.
Exactly. So I think for me, Jason Tatum, and I think I let the haters in the media get in my head a little too much, and I try to come to a median. But I genuinely believe Jason Tatum is a top 5 player in the NBA, regardless of what anyone says. Whether we talk about talent, whether we talk about, oh, he can do this, he can do that. Jason Tatum wins.
Yes.
He's always won. Yes, he's in a great organization, But once again, there's no flaw in Jason Tatum's resume when it comes to him playing bad. The only thing you can go to is him playing bad in his first ever finals against the Warriors. So what? LeBron played trash against the Mavericks. He's still a lot of people's GOAT. Like, his clutchness and his ability to step up to the occasion outweighs that one series. And especially when he came back and won a finals 2 years later. And like I said, I know it's funny and people have named him the anomaly, but he literally can do everything. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass. He's an elite defender. People don't talk about his defense enough, and people don't talk about his elite playmaking skills enough. All of a sudden, he's not scoring the ball as much in the past probably 10 to 15 games, but every time I get the stats at the end of a game and I'm done watching, Jason Tatum almost has a triple-double. He's having 28, 10, and 9, 28, 10, and 8, 28, 9, and 9. Like, he's on triple-double watch almost, not to the level of Jokic, but he's impacting the game in so many different ways where when we saw Jason Tatum at his young age, we thought he was just going to be a scorer. Yeah. And he's turned out to be much more than just a scorer.
One of the best facilitators in basketball.
One of the best facilitators in basketball. He has sacrificed with his... Once again, I've said this plenty of times, and I kind of do hope it happens at some point, but kind of don't because I'm a Celtics fan and I love our success. But I would love at some point in Jason Tatum's prime, not for a long period because I want to win, but I would love to see 1 year of like a mid Celtics team and him getting 30, because he could get 33 a night.
Absolutely.
With other people's circumstances in the league. Like, but no one's playing better basketball than Jason Tatum. Or no one I can say is better than him other than what? Shea, Jokic, Giannis.
And then some people would throw Luka in there.
Some people throw Luka in there.
I won't lie, I will throw LeBron in there right now. I won't throw Luka in there, though. I'm not going to lie. I think Jason Tatum is better than Luka.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, like with Luka, his super ability is the offensive end, whether you talk about scoring, whether you talk about passing, IQ, any of those things. But like you said, Jason Tatum it's boring, but he wins, and his style wins. He's an elite winner in this league. He's won since day one when he got in this league. And Luka has deficiencies that would lose his team series or games on the defensive end.
Perfectly said.
Jason Tatum doesn't have a flaw that would lose his team games. Now, if you want someone to put on a Superman cape and take their team to places and overachieve, you might take Luka.
Yeah.
But you could literally pair the 4 best players in basketball and then add Luka, and that team still has a weakness.
Yes. 100%. That's a perfect way to put it. On that defensive end, somebody to hunt on that side of the ball when Luka's on the court at all times. When Jason Tatum is on the court, there is no weakness that you can expose. It's not a player that you can expose in any facet. I completely agree with that. And one thing, since we're done talking about the Celtics and how much of a contender that they are and why they should be considered favorites over the Lakers, one thing that you decided to breeze over is my Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yes.
And first off, I would like to say, I do think Oklahoma City is the only team in the Western Conference that can beat the Lakers, and I think they will, because it's looking like we're going to end up playing in the conference finals
is where y'all would find them with 1-2 seed,
because it's the 1 and 2 seed exactly. And first off, oh my goodness, could you imagine that series? Like, it sounds good right now, and it's probably what we were going to get if we were to bet. We would probably both bet on that series. But oh my gosh, that is going to be a beautiful series. Like that series is so tight, at least in my head, to where like there's going to be a 7-game series, and we're going to be watching absolute cinema. And I don't know, man. I think my thing is with the Lakers, defensively, they have been great over these last 2 months. I think best in the league, but their one deficiency is the fact that they cannot move their feet and guard small scoring guards. LaMelo Ball gave them 27 points the night after All-Star break ended. Yep. Jalen Brunson gave them 39 last night before going out. And those are the 2 guards. Obviously, they've had more games after the All-Star break. But those are the 2 scoring guards, 2 dominant scoring guards in this league that they have played since All-Star break, have lit them up. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, once again, will light them up. The X factor of this entire playoff run for any team is going to be Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams. If this guy can make shots at an elite clip, Thunder can win the entire thing.
Yeah.
Thunder match up
and
with
that's
so
where my
many
worry
teams.
is. And
and that's a valid worry. And if you pick teams because of that fact, I won't be. The Lakers, like, I can't say anything about that, honestly. I can't.
And I don't think I'm ready for Oklahoma City, as there's a question mark on what is their elite number 2.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Shea. I genuinely think if you put the right guys around Shea, that he could. Shea could be better peak for peak than Stephen Curry. I know that sounds so.
Ooh,
I know that sounds so crazy.
Yeah, that's.
I know that sounds so crazy. My favorite version is 2022 Curry.
Me too.
Because he took a team that was not necessarily a favorite. They weren't against the Celtics.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I mean, I wouldn't call it a stacked roster. They were. It's a championship level roster, but because of Steph Curry,
it was a good roster.
Because of Steph Curry, though, I mean, they're what, 9 seed without Steph. Like they're not like. It showed his value. That's an MVP type of season, not statistically, but showing Steph Curry's value.
Yeah.
But Shea is a player who, once again, not that Steph Curry was elitely bad at it, but Shea leads the league. Like, he'll lead the league in steals.
Yeah.
He's a 6'5" guard. He could guard probably 1 through 3, I would say.
1 through 3.
Shea can guard 1 through 3 at a very elite level. And he could go get you 30, and he got you last year. He could get you 32 on 50% shooting.
Yes.
You take that with him just having, if he has one season of him carrying a team to a championship like Kawhi did, you could sit here and be like, yeah, I want that version of Shea over any point guard of all time.
Absolutely.
And that's not it's not as crazy as it sounds. No, I'm not saying Shea's better than Curry all time. I don't think he ever will be.
No.
I think Curry is the GOAT point guard.
Yes.
But peak for peak, I think if Shea wins a ring, being leading the league or up there in steals, and he's top 5 in defensive rating.
Yeah.
And on top of that, going getting 30 on elite efficiency, there's nothing that, I mean, there's no hole. There's no. And one thing we don't talk about with Curry enough is, and Shea could end up doing this because Shea is. He steps up to the occasion, I feel like, every single time I watch him play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than this past Olympics, you can't name me a clutch Curry shot. And when I say that, I mean playoffs, and I mean, like, there's no iconic Curry shot. Mm-hmm. I think we have a lot of, even though we say LeBron's not clutch, some people say that, we talk about certain shots, like against the Bulls. Yeah. There's shots that we think of when we think of LeBron clutch in the playoffs. Obviously, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, like, we think of his shot, like or even the lob to Shaq at the dunk. Like, there's iconic clutch moments that we think about. Other than this past year at the Olympics with Curry hitting all those crazy threes and he saved the USA team. And a lot of y'all probably are saying the shot from that he banked at OKC, that was a regular season game in the middle of the week. And I've seen that like advertised as a playoff.
And that 100%. That was one of the most electric plays ever.
One of the most electric clutch plays ever.
But it was a Wednesday night on League Pass.
But it was a Wednesday night on League Pass. Let me make that straight.
Maybe ESPN. That was probably nationally televised. But let's chill on the importance of it.
And I will say there was a lot of times in the playoffs where I was like, dang, Curry, you're not clutch. Like, there was a lot of times.
I felt that way a lot of times watching Steph. Like, he's
crunch time. Why is he's settling?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, come in the clutch with a Michael Jordan having elite mid-range, Jokic with an elite post-game, Kobe with a mid-range and elite footwork and could get downhill, LeBron being able to literally, he's the best driver of the game we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Those are more efficient shots.
Yeah.
So, yes, Curry's the greatest three-point shooter ever, but in crunch time, his superpower is, I mean, he has to settle.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality. He has to settle. He can't get a shot for game other than the three-point line.
I mean, and that's why you've seen no other small guards dominate this league in the fashion that Stephen Curry has, which is a testament to him dominating it for the decade plus that he has.
Yep.
And he's had to shoot the ball.
Yes.
I mean, literally, as a small guard, if you wanted to dominate the league like he has done, you have to shoot the ball at a crazy clip. And it's crazy how we're kind of praising each other's stars right now. I just praised Jason Tatum.
No, that is crazy.
You just praised Shea. And that is something that I wasn't even going to bring up in this episode, but it has been ticking me off a little bit. It feels Shea. I've never seen a player of this magnitude it feels like get less coverage or less respect than Shea. And I know Shea gets covered. I do realize that.
He's a lot of people's favorite player, but
yeah, but are we realizing what he is doing?
Yeah.
Like you said, he could be on pace to be the third best point guard of all time. Like, I think that's his pace right now. Better than Zeke. Better than Isaiah Thomas in Detroit. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on that pace. Right there with Luka, obviously. Him and Luka are both going on that trajectory.
Yeah, and there's gonna be a point in the next 2 to 3 years, or maybe not, where one clearly surpasses, or where
one gets a tally at least.
Yeah, or
one just wins the playoff season. A rivalry.
It might become a rivalry, like we talk about KD and Bron.
Absolutely, and I think the league. That's something that's insane. And honestly, we've talked about this. I feel like Shai outplayed Luka. I
think the one reason you can't say that is just because the Mavs won. But yes, he played better. But it's like, once again, I feel like time and time again, once I say this with Jason Tatum, I say this with, like, there's times you could be like, oh, they hooped. Joel Embiid hooped. But, like, if you want to say Joel Embiid outplayed Tatum statistically.
No, but no one would say that, though.
I know. You get what I'm saying, though. Like, Shai obviously played like he was the best player in that series.
Yes.
I would say that.
And my thing is, they have different styles, and it obviously looks like Luka is a little bit more dominant offensively. But the way they were creating shots in that series, it was an equal amount of offensive dominance.
Firepower.
Luka, the way he creates shots for his teammates, he does it slow paced. It's like he lulls the entire defense eyes to sleep, and they just
and not to interrupt you, I call this. I'm telling you, in the playoffs, y'all are about to be like, people who don't really watch basketball on a nightly basis are about to be like, Rui looks nice.
Yes.
And it's the Luka effect.
Yes.
Of a player who can hit a catch and shoot three and cut. All of a sudden, Luka makes him look elite. I said the same thing with Jokic and Westbrook, and I was right. Westbrook all of a sudden looks revived at some times because he cuts and like Luka elevates. I mean, look what he did to PJ Washington.
Absolutely, and that's where I was going. He created so much for PJ Washington off of just cross court skip passes.
Yes,
and my thing with Shai is, I felt like he had that same amount of offensive dominance as far as his efficiency in the mid range is so dominant that it forces defenses to collapse. And his shooters should have been just as open, and they were just as open as PJ Washington was in that playoff series. Yeah. They just didn't capitalize like PJ Washington did.
That's my separator with Luka and Shai. I think offensively, it's like you could say Shai's more efficient, but when hot, Luka's the best.
Yeah,
because he can get really streaky hot.
Oh, Luka can get on a crazy. Luka might.
When he's hot, he's the best player. When he's on it, when he's on a tear, obviously you don't see that every night, or every quarter or whatever. Like, it comes in waves, but it does seem to step up in the occasion in the playoffs every single time, especially when he plays the Clippers. But I think that's the separator for me, is the playmaking. I think if you were to drop Shai or Luka on any team, they both get 30.
Absolutely.
But there would be 1 to maybe 2 specific players that you look at and be like, they're playing better now that Luka's there. And with Shai, I would say people become more open, like you said.
Yes.
But Luka is literally manipulating the game and creating them to be open and finding elite ways to get people the ball and put them in great positions to be elite.
I completely agree with that. I hope we just sparked up something that I hadn't thought about, actually. I'm not going to lie to you, but I hope that does become an actual rivalry in this league, because those are two, once again, offensive geniuses at what they do.
The 2 best point guards in the league, and they both could end up being top 5 point guards all time.
Absolutely. And that's what I think will happen
at
the pace they're going at right now.
The only thing, I mean, Luka with his health, and I don't think, but if...
It's going to be important for Shai to also finish this year strong to get that MVP.
Yes.
And I think on that resume.
I do wonder how you feel about OKC kind of, they'll be up 20, putting Shai back in to get 30 or consistently, like, and I've seen a lot of people, like, I've seen watching the Gilbert Arena podcast, and I've seen many different media networks talk about it, him coming back in the game up 20 to go get more numbers, and that he's chasing the MVP but not winning. The coach puts him in.
Yeah. I mean, hold on. First off, let's not falsify what what that means for Shea's dominance.
Yeah, like,
he's still playing minutes. I mean, if it was a close game, he would have been playing the same minutes.
Yeah.
And secondly, how about just don't lose that bad and it doesn't become a problem?
I mean, my biggest thing is like it's not rec league. Like
Yeah,
Shea
like,
could
what are
play
we-
to the very end.
Yeah.
And it's like
What?
you never know. Like the coach could be trying to get a different lineup look. Playing
Exactly.
Shea with some guys that coaches on the fence about playing in the playoffs.
Adjusting
like,
to the space he gives you as
exactly. Like I mean, like you've seen JJ Redick do it probably more than anybody with testing lineups this
Absolutely.
year. Just testing different. Whether it's the end of the game, beginning of the game, whether it's just tonight I'm going to try this lineup out. I don't see any problem with it, and I mean, he's deserving of the MVP, and I don't think those last few minutes is helping or hurting his case.
Absolutely. I don't think that should be a factor at all.
100%, because regardless of if he's going back in to get it, he's still shooting on great efficiency.
Exactly.
So